What's going on, guys? I'm back again with another reaction today. We're gonna be reacting to the truth about bronies. I've watched one of them without a reaction, aka off screen, and that is kind of sus. Who even makes love with ponies? That is so weird. Seriously, chat. Bro imagines that making babies with a pony is okay, but it's not. It's truly not. Spare with me, chat. That ain't right. If this happens in real life, the species that will be terrified as a humoni or ponhuman or something like that. That'll be kind of terrified and disturbing and gross. If I saw that, I would be like, what the f... Yo. Seriously, guys, that will ruin my appetizer if this happened. I don't want to eat anything while watching this shit. No. Anyways, guys, let's get on to it and play.
For those who might have forgotten, a brony is a fan of the TV show My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, with the fandom itself peaking during the early to mid 2010s before slowly fading away as people grew up. While a lot of weird stuff has gone down on that side of the internet, today we'll be focusing on a select few of those worst individuals. As let's just say there's quite the amount of people out there willing to do whatever they want in the most depraved way possible. Shout out to the channel members like always. And if you'd want to support yourself, you can subscribe to my Patreon in the corner or YouTube memberships by clicking the join button. Make sure to like the video. Now let's jump right into everything and get on with the first person. Daniel Stein, also known as Mando Pony, was one of the first bronies who got attention on a larger than normal scale. It all started back on October 11th.
Oh, I remember Mando Pony. I used to listen to his music. Like Five Nights at Freddy's music, like Survive the Night. I ain't gonna lie, that takes me back in 2014. I don't know how to make videos in my own videos back then. When I was like 10 years old in that time. And so many good memories.
2011, when he first created his YouTube channel and posted a
I didn't know Mando Pony was a brony.
chiptune mix of the My Little Pony theme that same day, with it getting around 70,000 views as of today and a small fan base in the process. His start would be a humble one as he would continue to post MLP related songs and covers for his fans to enjoy, but everything would change on December 12th that year as he would upload his collab Out Fly Higher with another brony musician named Acoustic Brony, getting over 500,000 views as of today. Even if it was a rather simple song altogether, this is around the peak of the brony community, and them seeing someone with enough talent to give back to the community in that way was enough to get things rolling and certify himself as a creator in that space to keep up with. As he was working on his next big song, Andrew would fill the gap to 2 Christmas covers this.
Ew. Look at his views. Took this guy like 12 years for this type of videos to get to 10,000 views? Bro. I ain't gonna lie, that is kind of new. Bro. That is terrible, bro.
Satiate his audience's hunger to poor results. It didn't matter though, as on January 24th, 2012, he and Acoustic Brony would drop another collab, Loyalty, together, with that becoming both of their most famous song in the fandom to date at almost 3 million views as of today. In less than half a year, Mando Pony would cement himself as a popular figure in the fandom due to this very rapid success. At one point, even getting a shout out from Daniel Ingram, the composer of the official music of the show at BronyCon 2012.
Mando writes some killer songs too. I gotta give you credit for some of those great songs you've been writing, man. Really good stuff.
He will continue to upload original songs and covers on his channel, and mostly positive results for the next couple of years. Even dropping a single by Acoustic Brony on his channel alongside the original upload, showing that his ties to the fandom itself were so strong he was willing to promote his friend for free simply because of his gratitude. Andrew's success would continue as he would pull over 500k views on a remix of his, and on April 30th, 2014 would upload the song Horse Famous, the term used by any brony creator that was popular.
Never heard of that song before. Not even my life. Not even 21 years of my life.
cementing himself as one of the biggest creators in the fandom. However, 2014 was also the year the fandom started to slow down, as by this point in time it was just another internet fad that had started.
Look at his views in the old days. He could barely get this much? Bro. Must have been cringe.
Started to dwindle away, and while he would upload a couple more songs throughout the year relating to the show, he knew it was time to try something new or be left in the dust in the ever-changing landscape that is the internet. On November 20th, 2014, Andrew uploaded Survive the Night, a song related...
This is a song that I remember, chat. I'm telling you, this one's good.
Into the new gaming phenomenon Five Nights at Freddy, as the fandom was growing at an extremely rapid pace during fall 2014. This would prove to be a very, very smart move, as the song sits at a staggering 45 million views as of today and is still his most popular video ever, far surpassing anything he ever did for the Brony fandom by miles and cementing himself as a figure to be reckoned with in the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom now. He would upload a Christmas cover album right after this to poor results once more, as nobody was subscribing to him for his...
More of his views, bro. Come on, you can do better than that nowadays. And nobody is clicking on these videos? Bro, what did he ever do to you guys?
His Christmas covers, but it was obvious this was just a way to buy some time as he worked on his next song to publish. On December 16th that year, Andrew uploaded his next FNAF song and get 20 million views off of that, which even if it wasn't as successful...
And that views right here was successful. I wish I had this many, chat.
...as his first, was still a massive amount of views for...
But no, I'm still stuck being noob. Even though I'm a pro editor and good with 4K quality. And a pro at Beyond Studio. Beyond Studio is way better than Rapper Offline. But you have to remake the accounts with temporary mail. Unless you're rich AF and got some money on your credit card to remove the watermark and get time for the expired more than just 14 days. So, yeah, I'm glad the price in Beyond is just cheaper now. So we can make videos so we can go much effort.
Anybody on the internet. His next song just a week later named Just Go would kick everything back into shape, however, as it currently has 40 million views and is his second most popular video on his channel and will probably stay that way forever. He would actually upload a Brony collab at Christmas as well just 2 days later, showing that even though he moved on to better pastures, he was still willing to contribute to where it all started for him just 3 years ago now. Alongside making more FNAF songs a massive success.
Oh, I remember this Notice song too. This shit was fire. Oh my god, it takes me back in my childhood. This is so good. Man, one of these songs aren't cringe at all.
Andrew would also make songs for other similarly charged fandoms like Undertale, for example. And while he wasn't getting 8 figures worth of views, it doesn't really matter much when you're still pulling in numbers most people can only dream of. Andrew would also become friends with fellow musician Nate Wants to Battle and join his record label Give Heart Records in the process, in which they would collab together on some songs and would even get invited to join him on a short tour. While their most popular song together doesn't seem to amount to much in either of their separate careers, it didn't matter much as they were both doing fine in their solo efforts, with these collaborations being just another avenue for different types of music to produce.
You see that? People like me are doing much effort with higher quality, can do better than some cringe videos that nobody's gonna click on.
And grow their careers in the process. Andrew's personal life was going fine as well, as he'd find himself dating and eventually getting engaged and married to Sabrina Alberghetti in 2015, a storyboard artist best known for her work on My Little Pony and Ed, Edd n Eddy, among countless other popular children's cartoons and movies throughout her career in the industry. It seemed that he was on top of the world by the end of the 2010s. As while things started to slow down, this is normal for any creator in a space such as his own. And at the end of the day, he was still doing great overall and would continue to produce content for years to come. Except this isn't the case at all, as 2020 will end up being the year where this decade of hard work all came crashing down in a mere matter of days. Speaking of hard work, I tend to find myself giving into my bad habits due to the stress that is constantly digging into these stories throughout my time online. However, I've been able to curb this thanks to Fume, an award-winning flavored air device that has no nicotine, no chemicals, no batteries, none of that weird stuff, just flavored air to help fill the void and not feel guilty about it. The device itself is very sleek and stylish, making it clear this isn't some cheap ripoff, but something that a lot of care was put into for those wanting to break their bad habits like myself. They have a multitude of flavors to choose from, ranging from maple pepper to raspberry lemon, but my personal favorite was crisp mint out of all the choices I had. And let me tell you, hitting that and taking a sip of cold water, there is nothing better on this planet other than that combo right there. The device itself is small but has a little bit of weight to it, so you know it's in your pocket at all times.
What the heck is this thing? I have never seen anything like it.
And it's not big and bulky, so it doesn't look out of place when you're
Excuse me,
holding it.
guys.
Fume has served over 300,000 customers and counting, and you can try it out yourself at tryfume.com/Lanzer by scanning the QR code on screen to get yourself your very own free Fume topper when you order your journey pack today. It's easy to slip on and has a much softer and warmer feel to it, and it's also chewable and reusable for those of y'all who like to fidget around as well. I'm definitely going to bring this with me to my next rave this upcoming June. And speaking of June, on June 15th, 2020, Andrew made a post on Twitter saying he was going to stay away or at the very least take it slower on social media, with a lot of people wishing him well as it seemed something was going on. He would go on to vague post a bit and retweet stuff from his wife up until the 23rd that month, in which he would go radio silent as people wondered if he was doing alright. It seemed that there was something going on with the guy, and while people were initially supportive as it sounded like life was getting rough, it turns out this sudden departure was for a much more different reason. Sometime in mid-July 2020, a Twitter account named Exposing Andy Stein will come out and leak a bunch of messages between him and a random person on Snapchat talking spicy with him. It turns out that the person he was talking to was a 17-year-old in high school as she would prove her age to the people reading by posting her ID.
Yo, come on. Come on. Are you serious? Doxing people like that? This is just not okay, bro.
And given that he was 31 at this time, that means a 31-year-old was talking to a 17-year-old. However, before we get into that case, there are a couple other stories that are worth talking about first so y'all can understand what...
Oh, I'm glad he didn't dox somebody. That would have been bad. This guy who made this video would have been got arrested and went to jail.
What's going on here better. Now, as we know, when people get exposed online, it's unfortunately common for other people to say things with zero evidence to back up their word. In this case, I noticed that like usual. Like this post right here of a supposed anonymous 18-year-old saying he was...
Let me read it in chat. What the? Damn, Mando Pony did this? Well, yeah, his songs were great, but it's still messed up for him to do that. You can't just tell the girl that you're interested in to have sex. You're gonna have to show the girl that you're interested in with the love, Valentine's, having a good time, but not sexual harassment. I swear, people are just dumbasses nowadays, you know?
was weird but not backing it up with any evidence. There's even this image floating around when the leaks dropped.
What? Mondo! Mando, come on! Sorry guys, I have allergies. Okay. So, Mando says, how old are you? And that girl was like, what do you think? And he was like, I don't know, I guess. And she also says, I'm under 15, now you have to decide. What? No way. And that girl actually says, I'm 13. And Mando says, haha, but you're so cute. And she was said, thank you. Sorry I have to screenshot that. And Mando gets toast. This is taken back to close to 10 years, 2016. Or close to 9 years. Sorry.
But given it's dated 3 years before the new stuff, the font doesn't really match up with how Snapchat looks. The fact that conversation itself screams Photoshop as people don't type like this, like someone saying they have to screenshot something damning, does not sound like a natural conversation at all. And the fact this literally had nothing else ever expanded upon, it's safe to assume this is probably a fake image. There's also another story about a supposed second underage victim now is 15 as well, that starts off with them meeting him after they told him happy birthday and started chatting months later with him apparently sending nudes to him. However,
what the fuck? Yo! Y'all can see the red flags around here. This is so fucked. He told me once he masturbated over some stupid shit. I can't remember. He also invited me to the tour they were planning on doing when they were coming to Europe and said, we might accidentally make out a bit with a JK. Unless, rule applying always. I told him to kickboxing and he said I could be their security because I could kick someone's ass. After I told him to stop flirting with me, we stopped talking full stop. So, that's everything. Why is people grooming minors and regarders ruining everybody's little reputation? Are you serious? This is not okay. We've been over this, everybody. We've been over this a gazillion times. A trillion, billion, trillion damn times. And they didn't learn the fucking thing. Jesus
the evidence
Christ.
provided is just hearsay from telling the story on Discord on how things supposedly went down, saying that a random Instagram account.
Wait, whoa. I'm all blushing and turned on thinking of you. And someone that Antenilla person was attracted to some girl or something. Oh, okay, I'll stick around then. Hee hee. What sort of poses do you think we should go for? I'm no too fuzzed. Or fused or whatever. Not. And that profile user said, I'd love something really sweet and maybe a little sensitive and sensual, but only as far as you're comfortable, of course. And the victim said, I'll see what I can do. Bruh. I am so happy to hear you say that. And good, yes, I totally trust you in your own level of comfort. Bruh. As long as I know that there is respect and I am not being taken advantage of in any way, I'll stay talking. Bruh.
Account that they were talking to was him, yet there's no proof it was actually him or not, as no name drops or anything similar happened between the two in the leaks. As much as I want to believe.
Wait. But your girl is number one, and so are you, and I firmly know that. And the victim said, I think for the interest of keeping stable relationships, we stay just as close friends, and she is. I'm glad you understand that. And Antonella said, "Oh, okay, sure. I won't ask for anything more. Would you like me to stop with the flirting? I totally will if it's not fun for you. It is not fun for me. And I want to respect you both." Well, that's at least the bad things that I've ever read, I guess. And the victim said, "So we don't upset anyone and still manage to be close. It's not that I don't like it, I'm flattered. But when we've both got partners, I do feel a little uncomfortable." Okay then. Awkward.
If this is Andrew speaking to them, there's no way to prove that the Instagram account was his and not just some random person. And until I see evidence connecting the two together, I'm not going to label this as him, as that would be very reckless of me to do. And given the severity of the claims...
I'll be right back, chat. I gotta use, like, the bathroom and gotta fill up my water bottle so I don't keep clearing my throat like a noob this entire thing. So, I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. I got some water, but I'm just waiting for the clean water because my brother have the clear thingy, so you can have clear water to pour it in on the cups that you want in the bottles. So, yeah. So I have to pause for a moment there. Let's continue, yes?
is being labeled against him, I felt it was best to explain why I'm taking them with a grain of salt. For clarity's sake though, I'll attach these two images.
So, it's Mando Pony made this shit. But I didn't even notice that because I wasn't allowed to watch adult content. I didn't even hit puberty back then, so.
Is what Andrew allegedly drew of him and the 15-year-old girl in question on the left.
What the? Yo, come on. That is so pedophilia, bro. He's gotta get called out.
In the same way Nate wants to battle allegedly being added into the mix on the right. Given I have no way of sourcing what DMs these images are from and are only told he drew these as part of the story, it's best to let y'all see them for yourselves, as if someone who's closer to the story recognizes these, they can add some much needed context. It doesn't matter that much though, as a
Wait.
Can add some much needed context. It doesn't.
Are you alone? Haha. Okay, that Andy guy was kind of creepy already. And the victim said, "Yeah, I am." And he said, "Just a quick pick?" Brother. Bro. Guy, come on. What are you guys doing?
Doesn't matter that much though, as the main story at hand will have over 100 screenshots of their Snapchat
Such a degenerate,
messages together. And while it would be redundant to go through each and every single one of them, the majority are very interesting to read. As a reminder, the girl was underage until her birthday on September 26, 2019, when she would turn 18, yet Andrew here was sending nude photos to her a month before.
What the? Yo! Dude, come on.
Before that in August 2019, with their dynamics seeming to already be very spicy judging off their messages. They would continue to send messages like this back and...
Yo, he even just sent that girl his dick. Bro, buddy. What are you doing, bro? I'm glad this YouTuber who made this video censored that. I don't condone this bullshit on YouTube at all. Kids shouldn't be watching this. This is not okay.
forth as they both seemed to be infatuated with each other, and it was extremely clear that Andrew was very much into this girl. It seemed that they had been talking for a while, as a post from April 9th, 2019 would be seen where Andrew's in.
Yo, that girl's a minor back then? Dude, this is not
her face
okay.
showing and everything, and at one point would even express how he wants to keep her a
That is
secret as he
not
doesn't want
okay.
no one to know about their dynamic, with her saying she
He is an EDP wannabe all the way, huh?
keeps stuff like this a secret, in an ironic twist of fate as we're going through these images right now. At one point, he would even say that it's probably wrong of him to be attracted to her. However, either because of his marriage or because of her age, no one knows for certain, but it was still pretty unfortunate to see he knows what he's doing was wrong yet kept it up because he couldn't control himself. This would escalate into more cheating on his wife with a girl, as they would share intimate moments with each other that YouTube
Why?
doesn't want me to specify, but I'm sure you get the point. And at one point, Andrew would even open up about how he and his wife hadn't been physical with each other for over a year and a half now, with him going on to state her issues and how it affects him and the way he goes about his love life with her and such. This spicy dynamic would be the main driving force in their relationship together, as they were game whenever it came to talking some type of way with each other. And it's just so bad to see because he clearly knew that he was cheating on his wife and that it was wrong yet kept it up because of his own failing marriage. It's honestly pretty crazy to see how Andrew had her wrapped around his finger throughout the entire relationship from what it seems, and at one point would even ponder the idea of flying over to meet up IRL to do stuff together despite everything that had been going on. Their dynamic would continue after she turned 18, as it seemed to keep going with no stop in sight, even going all the way into January 2020, almost a full year since adding each other. Things would stop on January 8th, however, with the exact reason unknown, but either way, we now know that this was going on for almost a full whole year and it was only recently exposed. After finishing up the leaks, one thing that's worth pointing out is that no ages are ever exchanged between one another. And again, that one message where he says he knows what he was doing was wrong could imply he was making reference to cheating on his wife rather than knowing he was talking to an underage person. It's something that caught my attention because even though we know the girl was underage when they first started talking, we don't know if he ever knew that or not. But it didn't matter much to the public, as the story will blow up in those circles and make its way around the internet. Once all this news dropped, Andrew would private his Twitter page, turn off the likes and comments on every single video on his channel, and that all Instagram.
Yo! This proves he can't handle criticism? Yo, he can barely get away with the backlash he's receiving back then.
Account that is said to be his will supposedly disappear around this time frame as well, but again, I have no idea to know if this wasn't deleted prior or not. It's just said that the account disappeared after the news dropped. Nate Wants a Battle will unfollow him on Instagram and delete all songs he ever made with him on his channel, and another musician signed a gift card named Caswell Wolf would cut him off after being told about what was going on. It seemed that Andrew was going to run away now that he was exposed, and as the months went on, not a single word would come from him as the evidence kept spreading throughout the internet. On March 9th, 2021.
Yeah. Probably due to the backlash he received. Just like EDP did. Like I said, it's very bad, okay? It's very bad, okay? I was trying to voice Mr. Mackey. Trying to be funny. You don't want to be.
1. Andrew would come back to social media to announce that after being investigated by the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force by the LAPD that no crime had taken place between him and whoever it was. Given we don't exactly know what.
Yeah, we can't even dox the victim without permission, so, because that would get you into so much trouble. So yeah. Glad I learned my lesson. This wasn't a good environment at all.
What the evidence sent their way was, it's safe to assume it was the Snapchat messages, as they were the most damning against him.
Oh, I forgot, he even showed his ass. Like, dude. What are you doing, bro? No wonder why he gets a lot of backlash.
He would go on to say how he failed his wife and such, and that he'll be moving forward as he's fine legally, and ends things off saying that any more harassment will be met with the fullest extent of the law. He will live up to that, as a multitude of posts on exposing Andy Stein have been taken down for copyright reasons, meaning that he's actively trying to silence the spread of this news in any way he possibly can. It's pretty annoying because we've all seen those messages and how he quite literally was showing his face in Snapchat, and it doesn't really mean anything because this info's already out there, hence this video existing. Andrew would get back to uploading songs later that year, as on October 1st he would upload a Halloween song he made called Trick or Treatin' to middling results, showing that his fan base is all but kinda gone now. In July 2022, he uploaded another cover song of a Disney property to even worse results. And given that it's related to a property that's aimed at teenagers, it shows that he's still aiming for that demographic despite everything going on. On August 22nd, 2022, he would update people, say that a second police investigation happened and that they determined nothing criminal went down. Again, basically
Okay, now he was trying to debunk these allegations.
saying that he's fine legally.
Bruh.
Since then, he's been uploading at a decent pace on his YouTube channel for the past 2 years, with his views mostly being bad, with the comments and likes still turned off even to this very day. Something that's worth of interest is that Sabrina herself has actually talked about the allegations before on Twitter, as back in November 2021, she would mention how people have been stalking her over this and at one point would indirectly confirm
Oh, I guess anybody is Wimmytex wannabe.
the leaks to be real. She said, "Tried to move on with my life over something that never happened the way people said it did," which I
Yes, Sabrina is trying her best. Like I'm moving out from my drama. From the past year.
as we know, the only leaks where she's involved in are the ones where Andrew was on
Trust me,
Snapchat
guys,
with a
this is just
17-year-old.
fucked up.
In March 2022, she would
unfair
again
and cheating.
reiterate that it's just a bunch of BS and imply that other people are doing bad things, and it was clear she was still down to defend her husband despite everything going on. Now, as we saw, Andrew here loves to use copyright law against anybody who talks about him.
Oh! Damn!
And he's been known to do this to people that even play a small 5-second clip of his music, hence why
More exposing people? Dude. This is cheating! That is so cheating. You can't cheat on YouTube just to get your fans to like you. Seriously. That is not okay. That really makes you a manipulator. Seriously. This is not okay.
there's none here when talking about him. In fact, he's still up to abusing YouTube's built-in reporting
Oh! More exposing.
systems, as in February 2024, a YouTuber named Sacharis will upload a video going over his story and get a lot of views in the process, in which Andrew here was saying
Okay, that is cheating. That is totally cheating, bro. YouTube, what the hell are you doing? Stop these cheaters. God. Even I can make better videos than these pedos and regarders. God.
send in a privacy complaint to try and take it down, despite the screenshots being sourced in the proper archives of what went down. He'll most likely send in a privacy complaint once he sees this video, but I've been through this plenty of times with the kinds of people I've covered in the past, so it's no sweat off my back. However, the one thing that's bugging me still is that even though we know Andrew was talking to a 17-year-old when he was 31, we don't have any proof if he knew, as they never exchanged ages in any of the leaks. Despite being the opener for this video, I feel this story isn't over just yet. And despite what countless people and videos have been saying online, it seems they didn't ask the right questions to themselves in researching and just took everything at face value. I'm certainly going to look into this further and see what else I can find for a potential future video, because it seems that there's more going on here than what people have been led to believe about the entire situation. Zach Kays, aka Toon Critic Y2K, was a YouTuber who specialized in creating
Oh, we're now going to Toon Critic Y2K. Never heard of this user before. Whoever it is, another pedo's on the loose. And regarders are exposing them. It's just, this war is never over. Are you kidding me?
Brony-related content on his channel. Well, he was never the biggest or even notable outside the niche circle that was the Brony fandom.
My little Gooner? More like my little cheater.
He was known enough throughout those circles to be considered,
Or, don't forget, my little manipulator.
of course, famous and would wear that name proudly in his online career. Of course, some stuff went down, as you can probably guess, and let's just say that it was indeed pretty bad to see. Before he was known as Toon Critic, he used to go by the name of FlameAmigo619 and was a proud user of the site fanfiction.net. He would write a handful of stories about multiple properties, including Sonic the Hedgehog and My Little Pony, of course. However, one of the more interesting...
People love Sonic. Heck, they even noticed, like, Sonic 3. That came out maybe after my birthday. Trust me. I guess Paramount Pictures doesn't deserve this gas shit. Not even my own company, Doggycorn Corporation.
franchises listed was Thomas the Tank Engine, and people soon find that he...
Wait, Thomas the Romeo Engine? What the fuckity fuck is this? What kind of nickname is that? Bro.
wrote up a story called Thomas the Romeo Engine and published it in February 2008 when he was just 16 years old. In this story, he goes into semi-detail about two trains basically going down on each other, to put it bluntly, and it's absolutely hilarious to read and somehow more autistic than the Brony stuff, but I digress. Funnily enough, after he was...
Oh, friendly fire. Friendly fire. Guys, friendly fire will not be tolerated, guys. That is also bad.
Fun of for this, he would delete that story and update his bio,
I have autism,
but it was
too.
too late as it was already cemented in
Very
internet history.
smart.
Toon Critic even used to do fandoms for the show as well, with a small handful remaining as these were posted well over a decade ago now before he took them down.
Bleh. I didn't lose it. Tee-hee.
There's no frame. He can barely do that right. I guess these videos is taken before everybody's using GoAnimate and beyond, like a few years later. What kind of voice acting is this? Seriously, what is this? Bro, you sound like a 10-year-old who making this bullshit that is crapping without any effort and can barely get the attention and can barely get views.
He would do this with other franchises like the Animal Crossing video game, for example, with both being in an obvious bad quality even by the late 2000s, early 2010s era. However, after coming across Angry Video Game Nerd and Doug Walker of their respective reviewing channels, Toon Critic here decided he wanted to shift his content to these reviews rather
Those two goats.
than silly little skits online, and in turn decided to focus on cartoons.
Boy, we enjoyed these guys in the YouTube poops. I used to watch a lot of YouTube poops when I was a kid. And when I was a little kid, while I was watching this crap, my mom wouldn't let me. But those were the good old days. Because everybody would have exposing each other back then, and everybody wasn't grooming minors back then. Like, bro, the old days are great. Golden days. 'Cause we are golden.
Going on to officially don the name Toon Critic for the first time ever. One of his earliest reviews was Thomas the Tank Engine, and no one's surprise. And when seeing someone who was in their 20s focusing their reviews on a child's property, it's not exactly shocking he wasn't getting the attention he wanted. Toon Critic would see this lack of growth as a major issue of his, and so in May 2012 he would move on to the ever-growing Brony community, as it was arguably the peak of the fandom's existence with the ever-growing popularity of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic back in the early 2010s. He would get himself a pony character to represent his channel and start to create videos reviewing the show and talking about it for people to enjoy, even talking about other properties he found interesting.
What? Like I said, where's the effort? Come on, bro. It's crap.
And as well, like the Sly Cooper video game series, for example. The videos themselves are very simply made with minimal editing and not heavy on the scripting, but he would become a known figure in the community and even become close to someone named Josh Scorcher, another online content creator who dabbled a bit with the Brony content back in the early 2010s. These two, alongside many others, would form together this so-called Brony analysis community, with some of the heavy hitters being Ink Bros and their 9 million view video talking about a headcanon, and Silver Quill with a general analysis getting over 4 million views himself as well. As funny as it is to make fun of these people for caring about a tame child's cartoon, views are views, and this was clearly one of the ways to kickstart an internet career back in the fandom's heyday. While Toon Critic
Come on, what a piece of
wasn't
shit.
pulling nearly the same amount of views like those people, he would become close enough to join a big Brony Skype group called the Rift Cafe, some sort of fan
The Rift Cafe? More like the Red Flag Cafe, am I right?
fiction-esque type group that no doubt helped him build more connections through networking with others. It was during this period where Toon Critic was in everyone's good graces that he would introduce his evil alter ego Cartoon Z into the mix, a character that dressed like one of those swag people from the early 2010s alongside a new voice and personality to boot.
They introduced another fictional universe for the ponies an episode later.
You're both so naive. Nothing's changed since Toon first met you both.
There was even this sort of thing where he would upload
Well, at least his voice actor is starting to get better, but still, come on.
videos on other people's channels using this character as a way of hacking them, which while pretty weird, it wasn't anything bad, so whatever. There's even this whole lore write-up about the Cartoon Z character coming into existence through like a beam in the sky and fighting other stuff on the Rift Cafe wiki. So while it was clear this was mainly just a really bizarre way of a group of odd people having fun with each other, it wasn't anything bad it seemed. Of course, it comes to no one's surprise there's still a bunch of more stuff going on here with Toon Critic, as let's just say his reputation in the community was a bit more shaky than it initially seemed. BronyCon was a convention that ran from 2011 to 2019, and while there were other conventions that existed, this was seen as the de facto convention for anything MLP related back in the 2010 era. Now obviously it's cringe and all that, but we're not here for that, we're here for the bizarre stories, such as how the founder of BronyCon, Purple Tinker, was accused of being a meth dealer who was arrested during BronyCon 2012. However, it turns out
Yo, what did bro do? Bro, what did he do? Let me guess, he groomed minors. Especially those VAR CG staffers are alleged to have spread rumors of the following. That I was arrested in Ohio. Ohio's the craziest state on earth nowadays. So is Russia. On the convention weekend, I was locked in my apartment's back room in Brooklyn all weekend. And I have never been arrested in my life. The last time I was in Ohio was months ago for TrudCon. I don't know what TrudCon is, but I was a kid back then when this shit happened.
actually live streaming during that period in which they were arrested, meaning that some random person was starting to pot for internet drama reasons. It's pretty weird, but nothing bad. And while Toon Critic himself would enjoy his time at these multiple conventions and even get a picture with the creator of the show, Lauren Faust, it seemed that people didn't exactly like him despite what it seemed like on YouTube. At the Brony convention BabsCon 2017, 3 people get their hands on Toon Critic's beloved hat and put it in the toilet for shits and giggles. This would eventually lead to allegations started by Toon Critic of them asking a girl who went...
There were no sexual favors demanded of me. Good. That's a good comment right here. For these guys to avoid jail. If they don't want to drop a soap in prison and get fucking railed. Which is kind of gay though. I would not have done anything I was uncomfortable with. Stop talking about it. Good. Good. The girl is defending herself from this shit.
Went to get the hat back to show her boobs in exchange for it. That would...
Okay, this was a huge red flag right here. Huge red flag.
So led to them getting banned from the convention for alleged sexual harassment. Given it's virtually only word of mouth, the girl said she wasn't harassed like that, and the fact they really don't give enough of a fuck to look into this, it's likely Toon Critic was just mad someone stole his hat and put it in the toilet and he wanted revenge. However, this story is nothing compared to the next, and for those familiar with older internet lore, you might know what's coming up. Someone named Minty Root would be invited to BronyCon 2015 alongside other random people and given their own plushie dolls, with the one on-screen being the one given to Minty. She would get a hotel room with some other random people, and one night she'd leave to go hang out with another friend of hers. When she came back to the room, she realized she'd forgotten her key, and when asking to get back in, they told her to go away, with her assuming they threw a party but didn't invite her as she went on to chill in the lobby for the night. Later, when she was let back in, she was told not to touch her plushie because, and I quote, Toon Critic took it and rubbed it down his pants. It turns out that Toon Critic had an orgy.
What the fuck? Yo, that is so weird. Very weird.
In a room with the other people. And the reason Minty wasn't invited was because the chick thought she was gay after she told her she...
They had an orgy. Buddy, come on. Apparently I was not invited because the girl thought I was gay because I told her I was bisexual. So to make it short, they kicked me out of my own hotel room to make their own party, played with my plushie, and tried to blame me for that. Yeah, because he's a creep.
He was by instead. On top of that, when asking for an apology from Toon Critic for defiling her plushie, he would instead put out this video mocking her for being Canadian as people started trashing him for being mean to her for no reason.
Okay. That is kind of racist. He literally is just the 806 wannabe.
It's good amigos, Cartoons here. Now, today's vid is a little unusual. Toonie here is not one for stepping into drama. I, on the other hand, court it quite well. So today this video is for Minty Root. Now, in the spirit of good fun, sir, I realize you and I don't exactly see eye to eye. And the fact we've never actually met, and you hate Toon over a little, incident with the plushie that he didn't know was yours. But that's beside the point.
Hey, how come you just keep on making me feel so bad? I mean, I know I do a lot of stuff on my animations, but let's put it this way, they are magnifique, no? Oh, you're just like all the rest of those ignorant pigs.
Buddy.
Honestly, the entire clip...
Yo, that is not okay, brother. You can't make videos out of people that is getting in your way. You gotta get a lot of backlash for that, buddy. Because I've done that. And it's all in the past now.
Is extremely tame, but given he couldn't apologize for what he did and instead acted childish over it, people started to dislike the man over the next few years. A girl who was involved in Fallen Wish has even gone on record talking about the experience in a Discord call sometime after January 2018 as well.
Later, and she invited herself. She's like, oh my god, can I come too? Invited herself, and then she invited Toon Critic when we were at the pool party for the other guy to be involved. So they all came, and I'm just sitting there like, mother. I hate this girl. I hate her. I hate this girl like more than anybody ever.
So did this Nikki V guy fuck Toon Critic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Of all people.
However, people would still be given a much better reason to dislike him, as let's just say there's a reason I know the general time frame that last call took place. On January 25th, 2018, over 500 Skype screenshots leaked out of Toon Critic when he was 24 years old talking some type of way with a 14-year-old minor. The messages seem to have started on November 11th, 2016, with Toon Critic...
Curious. I've only, seen your face. I don't think I've seen the rest of... Buddy! Bro. You can't say that. Wow, thanks. Though I am curious. But since you're curious, I'm 5'1". And I'm pretty thin. So you got that right. I was going to ask Pig Wise. Well, that message sent twice for some reason. Pick coming your way if you're curious. Come on, what are you doing, girl? Come on.
Very well aware he's being a creep asking a teenager for faith.
Please don't think I'm a creep or you're already the creep, buddy. You didn't sexually harass that girl in the first place, bruh.
These pictures, as you can see at the bottom there, with him even calling himself a pedo.
I'm not that special in terms of that. Well, yeah, pretty much are to me. Could you blame me? No, I don't blame that girl. She doesn't deserve to get sexually harassed. Sure, you should find someone your own age and not a pedophile, lol. Kinda hard considering I'm from an all-girls school though. And I wouldn't say you're a pedophile. Well, chill. It's not like we're really can do it in real life right now anyway, considering your distances and locations. I mean, fuck. If I were legal and got to meet with ya over there, damn, I'd have to resist pronouncing.
At one point when chatting, as he would notice she was into it. He would again try to play it safe.
Sorry, chat.
If and whatnot, very well knowing what he's getting himself into is absolutely disgusting. This time trying to get her into doing NSFW roleplays with him. In the middle of this NSFW roleplaying, Toon Critic would make references knowing that she's underage, such as mentioning her breast size, and at the end the girl herself would confirm her age to him for anyone wondering if he was perhaps lied to about.
What in the God's name of fuck is wrong with these people, yo? I don't know, some people used to groom minors back in my childhood days. All of this is fucked up.
By January 2017, just 2 months into their little relationship, he would admit he was attracted to her in a mental and emotional sense, and in May that year would ask if she wanted to take things a step further in their relationship of sorts. He would then straight up say that he's into her, which is just sick, and she wouldn't see an issue with this given she's so young, with it being very obvious he got her right where he wanted her to be. In August that year, when talking about potentially meeting up at a convention together, she would say how she might not want to take it any further, with Toon Critic implying that what went down in their roleplays would go down in real life if it were just the two of them. As he would clearly show how he knows what he's doing is wrong yet kept up with it, in December 2017 he would finally come to his senses and realize all this was extremely disturbing and gross. Who knows what led to this, but he realized that he had been involved with the now 15-year-old like this for over a year now, with the girl seeming to mainly just be curious more so than anything about why he wanted to stop things. While I can't seem to find a story as to how these leaks got out, it's safe to assume she eventually got to understand this was all completely screwed up and so screenshot everything and dropped them online a month later for the world to see. A screenshot will leak out of Toon Critic confirming this was all real with a friend of his, in which he tries to defend himself saying that the age of consent in the Philippines is 12, despite, you know, this taking place in America and not in another country. One of those people spreading the news around was Joshua Vita, which, let's just say we'll come back to him later. On the same day the leaks came out, someone would leak a Skype call that Toon Critic had with his friends, in which they grilled him for what he was doing as they realized he was a pretty disgusting person. The video itself is pretty boring all things considered, with them telling him to turn himself into the police, but it was very clear when listening to this that, for all intents and purposes, it was over for his horse fame and internet career.
There are no excuses. I'm not going to do much really other than say I was in a bad place and I made bad decisions. I got involved in the wrong type of thing. I really screwed up on that part.
We can't associate with this. We cannot.
Seriously?
Seriously. We can't be associated with this.
Dude, look, I made a stupid mistake, or I'm trying to fucking change from that.
No, you did it on purpose, buddy. What dick?
I get it, alright? I did some stupid stuff. You guys are my friends, like...
I'm sorry, dude, but...
Not anymore.
This is a crime. This is a crime, man. I don't want to do this.
Right.
At one point, he even says he's done worse before, and that in one of those cases, the police did get involved after a girl apparently lied about her age to him.
Well, I'm glad one of his former friends really cut ties with him after what he did.
Showing just how deep the rabbit hole goes with the dude.
There have been times where I admit I have done things that are probably worse than this. In fact, I can safely say that this is one of the worst things that I've ever done. But There have been worse there. This is not my first time in this type of situation, and I've not told you guys a lot of things. I don't know if I'll be able to now.
Minty would chime in the very next day on the 26th and point out how in his Thomas the Tank Engine fanfic, he used 2 teenagers doing certain activities like that, which given the context of how he is now makes it even worse.
Yo, he even made CP? Bruh.
To read. That same day as Minty's post, someone else named Abby would come out with a similar experience, showing that he was hitting on her despite being a minor as well, meaning this dude has a track record of talking to underage girls that only got caught recently, which is very disturbing to think about. It was officially over for him by this point, as the news had made its way outside the Brony fandom and into general niche internet circles, but this fallout from everything was just the beginning. As the news kept spreading around, Zach Kaiser changed the bio on his Skype saying that he had a good run and such now that his reputation was ruined. He would eventually nuke almost every single social media account.
The critic and the underage girl. Dr. Buddy. He even ripped off Cat in the Hat? Buddy. Dr. Seuss has gotta be pissed. They're gonna sue you, bro. You can't do that. No. It's not okay. No.
He had on the internet, and people started to draw up artworks making fun of the guy for very obvious reasons. Hell, somebody would even cosplay as him as a criminal in jail at a BronyCon a few weeks later, much to everyone's amusement, with people assuming he was now just gonna simply vanish into thin air. Well, there were some very few people trying to defend him because they're complete losers. There's one person named Performance Major who takes the cake, as he would go on to post the most bizarre defense video on the guy and give out.
They're even exposed to critic Y2K for all of the things he's done. That is unforgivable. Seriously. I don't know, regardless if pedos started the war together, like, longer than just a few years ago. Like 2, 3 years ago? Buddy, come on.
Outsiders an understanding on just how crazy this side of the internet is like.
I roleplay with just about anyone who's willing. And sometimes, if the minor is mature enough, I'll roleplay with them too.
That's right, he just admitted to engaging in NSFW roleplay with minors. The guy who was trying to defend 2 Critic yet showed himself to be just as bad as him, showing everybody keeping up with the situation that something is very wrong with these people and that they're all extremely sick in the head. In February 2018...
Right. This isn't okay. Seriously.
People start to say that this Telegram account was his and that he was trying to move into the furry community, and given his name is Zach and the name of the account is Zachy, there was some credence to these rumors. Around the same time, a Skype account named The World We Knew was said to be his, and leaked messages to show conversation that heavily implied as such, with people not giving up on keeping up with the dude and his internet whereabouts. In January 2019, over a year later, someone would post a screenshot of a Discord account named Mucha Lucha talking with someone who figured out their path.
Mucha Lucha? Nah, he stole the TV show from Warner Brothers. Yeah, Mucha Lucha was owned by Warner Brothers. Keep stealing any ideas, like any names from the others. Like, bruh.
In which they would link Google Docs written in Toon Critic by his former friends before they dropped him, showing that he was indeed this user and was still around on the internet. The link to the first statement is by his former friend Emily, and it still works, in which she mentions how he asked if she wanted to go down on him despite him knowing she was married, showing just how
What the fuck? Bruh. It's dark. It's not okay.
depraved this man was and the lengths he was willing to go to get some action before he eventually settled on teenagers. The second link works as well still. though it's not as personal as Emily's and is rather short as the screenshot on-screens the entirety of it, with his former friend Joey basically just ranting at him as he cuts him off. The third one has been deleted entirely, so while we don't know what was said, it's safe to assume it was more the same. In March 2019, Zach would be found out again but abandoned his Discord account to just a blank profile, in which a leaked message to a friend shows him manipulating what happened a year ago when he was exposed to try and make himself out to be a victim, also showing that the deleted document was written by former friends Will and Katie before they nuked it. It turns out since...
Sorry I have to pause this video momentarily, guys. I was just updating my reaction and gaming side with a subscribe counter so I can know that you guys subscribe to me or not. So let's get on to the video, shall we?
Summer 2018, he had been talking to this random person about how he felt, showing that he misses his friends and regrets talking to minors now that he has this label on him for the rest of his life. He would say how he planned on going to a con despite getting exposed recently and confirm it was indeed him speaking by name-dropping himself, and his anime roleplay account and new custom character would be leaked online for those keeping up. In March 2020, people find out that Zach was now streaming on Twitch under the name Zephyr the Indie Dingo, as someone recognized his voice when tuning into one of his streams.
Here, I'd like to make you a little peace offering with the little,
yes, the most fearsome dragon of all, Michael.
He would abandon this shortly after being caught online once again, and in November 2021, an account said to be his would be called out online by those still keeping track of him. I say said to be his because no evidence proving it was him would be supplied, but the account would get deleted within the week people called it out, so that means something, I suppose. Since then, nothing new has come out about Zach Kays and his whereabouts, but people will always be looking out to warn those about this dangerous man. He clearly knew what he was doing with the girl in Skype was wrong, yet kept it up, and after seeing Emily mention how he tried to bang her despite knowing she was married, it was obvious the reason why was because he was so deprived of human touch he did one of the most heinous things a person can do. Due to what he did, people will always be on the lookout for him, knowing that he was willing to go to such disgusting lengths to satiate his desires, so only time will tell if the next update on his whereabouts will be soon or if it will be another few years from now. Yeah, it turns out this story isn't over just yet, as on July 18th, 2024, Twitter user SammyBill will make a call-out post about someone named GoldNova92 and how he harbors bad people in his Discord server and is overly sexual with people while not taking no for an answer. It seemed like just another random Twitter call-out post, but on August 8th, just a few weeks later, somebody named Vinny would come out and expose it was actually Toon Critic this whole time. He will go on to talk about the old stuff we know already as an introduction for anybody learning about the guy for the first time, and ends things off apologizing to everyone who was in contact with him but didn't know how bad he was, wishing for him to rot and that he will never escape his past no matter how hard he tries. Sammy would retweet the thread now that the cat was out of the bag for Zach Kays here, and the thread in turn would cause a massive cascade of people to come out talking about their experiences with him while he was known under this recent alias Golden Nova. Someone named Reagan would come out and say that he tried to hit on him back in March 2024 but felt he was weird and also caused some friendships to fall apart in their circles. And someone else named Smashwaffle would come out with a Google document explaining how things went down between him and Toon Critic during their friendship. He would go on to say how he first met him in the Pokemon roleplay Twitter community in December 2022, became friends, eventually joining a Discord server centered around the subject matter. Toon Critic would even get some art pieces from him at a discount after pressuring him a bit, but it seemed that things were okay so far. Smashwaffle will also go on to say how Toon Critic would pressure and poke fun at him and others while also making flirtatious and unwanted sexual remarks. Which, while if this was a normal person, it could easily be seen as someone just pushing it too far a bit, knowing how Toon Critic is like, he clearly had ulterior motives going on here. Eventually, he would take this too far one day and somebody would leave their Discord server because of it, with Toon Critic downplaying what he did when he explained what was going on, something that he's known for doing throughout his time online whenever getting exposed. Smashwaffle would apologize for being misled by him to dislike the other person and for not knowing about his past, which to be fair, nobody in these circles knew about his past. The rest of the document is mostly venting, so it's not worth digging deep into, but it was clear that Toon Critic here was still up to his old ways despite everything that's happened in his life so far. Another person named Rocker will come out and make his own thread on the man, also talking about the old stuff as a refresher for anybody new following this whole situation. He would reveal that the FBI apparently investigated the guy alongside the police about the old situation, but nothing ever came of it because nothing physical happened, going on to say that he met him in March 2023 also on the Twitter roleplay community and eventually became friends due to their similar interests. He would talk about how Toon Critic was overly flirtatious with him and always trying to push things to a more serious tone, even trying to hook up with the guy at a furry convention in 2023. The hookup never happened, thankfully, and eventually after months of not really caring about his friends around him and other miscellaneous stuff, He and some others would have a Discord call with him, as these were massive red flags to him, in which they would lay out their issues with the guy on top of how he didn't want to kick out a pedo out of a server before getting pressured into it. Obviously, they didn't know at the time he was one as well.
Yeah, that's a good
and the rest
guy.
of the post is a small event about him being a vile person, and
way.
he hangs around the Chicago scene for anybody wondering about his whereabouts in the real world. Next would be somebody named Arvin, as they would go on to talk about their experience with Toon Critic. It would start off by exposing 3 of his Twitter roleplay accounts for the public to see, those being Fight Night Bay, The Golden Paw, and Hot To Go Arcalvers, before telling people to block those accounts and that he basically begged them for free art at one point in time. That's their whole story, but still, knowing that these 3 accounts were his was a vital step in exposing the dude some more over half a decade later. Someone named Finnegan would come out about their experience with a man, in which they would go on about how in May 2021 they logged into their roleplay account and came across someone named Tommy, with that being Zach Hayes here, and that he had a channel to post nudes in his Discord server, which he found a bit off-putting. Now, if I'm being honest here, in this situation, it sounds at worst that Toon Critic was just using him for pleasure and not really caring about the guy himself. But one thing I found interesting was that he also wanted to fly him out one day, just like pretty much everybody else he's spoken to online, showing just how depraved this guy is. Eventually, Toon Critic would start using the guy for his money in games and art commissions and such. And despite knowing the dude was at somebody else for over a year by the time 2024 rolled about, he was still trying to convince him to meet up IRL and go down on each other. While dynamics like these are confusing and happen in real life all the time between people, knowing that Zach Kazier has preyed on a young girl and continues to go after anybody who gives even a slight bit into his advances shows this isn't just some awkward experience, but somebody well aware of the way they act and how they've been doing it for years up to this point. Another person named Angel will go ahead and make a post calling out his Twitter roleplay accounts, with 2 new ones called Chug Street Wolf and Unchained Lupine being added into the mix. Chug Street Wolf has since been deactivated so far, and Unchained Lupine is still around, with it being an RP account based off the character Legoshi from the anime Beastars. Another person named Alexander here will go on to say how Zach befriended him despite knowing about him being a survivor of assault like that whilst not informing him about preying on minors. Someone named Icarus will come out and drop a couple screenshots of him talking with Toon Critic after Vinny dropped his thread on him, in which the first shows how Toon Critic himself was going on a vent about how people are bringing up 6-year-old drama to bury him, with Icarus of course not aware of his past and thinking it was just normal venting going on. Toon Critic would eventually confess to him after being prodded about how he was preying on that girl from back in 2018 but swears he's a changed man now, with Icarus rightfully going straight at him for not giving the full details on how he wanted to fly them out and all that other stuff after linking Vinny's thread. Toon Critic would try to convince him again that he's changed, that he came to his senses and all that, with Icarus already making up his mind and telling him to leave the community he currently resides in and leaking these DMs for the rest of the world to see. Somebody named Judah come out and talk about how they met Toon Critic in March 2021 in Twitter roleplay circles and that he was overly expressive but nothing bad in their experience with him. Eventually, after a year of knowing each other, he would try to ask him out but would get rejected for being too old. But things would get weird in February 2023 when he invited a pedo known in the Sonic the Hedgehog roleplay circles named Habit into his Discord server one day. He would leak the DMs between each other during that day. He informed him about the dude and eventually got him to confess and leave in shame. But the most important part would be this one line where he says that they had a good roleplay going on and would get shit for it if he doesn't let him go. Which, given that Toon Critic here has talked to a minor himself, comes off with a much different feeling with that context added into the mix. Sammy also made a Google Doc about some drama between the 2 of them, though it's not really interesting to be honest, but again shows that even in those circles his reputation wasn't exactly the best among that crowd. Honestly, I ain't surprised one bit that Toon Critic is still around on the internet, though I gotta say, I was a little bit surprised he was still hanging around these circles similar back to his MLP days. These are the kinds of people who will figure him and his name out pretty easily, and you would think if he wanted to stick around online he would move into a whole other side of the internet, but alas, here we are. It's pretty clear here that Zach Case is just gonna run away and find himself yet another identity to go by again. And let's face it,
Yo, he was trying to get away from his perverted actions, just like ADP did. Nah. Dog. Bro. That is not okay. That is illegal.
Probably find himself in another situation like this however many months or years later because he can't control himself and is always hitting on anybody who speaks to him. It's extremely pathetic, but given that he's done this with a minor before, I have no sympathy, and only time will tell when the next time he'll get exposed on the internet will be. Now Joshua Vita here, despite being one of the people who was pushing the story of Toon Critic around, had his very own similar skeletons in the closet himself. His story starts back in September 2018 when a minor named Minthart would come to him and his friend Lyle Convoy and tell them how her mother's boyfriend sexually assaulted her as they discussed on what to do about it.
Well, I'll leave that to her discretion, or her other option is, of course, to set up that camera tonight and see what happens.
Oh, I was just saying to leave her phone plugged in and just have the phone pointed at her, because nobody's going to suspect a phone on the bedside.
No, but you can. If you see the screen, you can see that it's recording.
Yeah. So I flip it over.
You better hope it doesn't fall over at night.
Yeah.
I think it'd be better. I think it'd be better if she surely has a desktop PC or a laptop.
She got a new laptop. Yeah.
Yeah. Put the camera on that sucker. Have it recording in the corner, minimized, and you're good to go.
Now, obviously, Loud Convoy here telling her to record her potential and inadvertently produce CP.
Is that a furry? What the hell? There is no way this mascot was a pedo thing. Or maybe someone's inside it doing this shit that are unforgivable. Red flag.
Go.
Now, obviously, Loud Convoy here telling her to record her potential and inadvertently produce CP is a pretty bad look, but his story is a whole other can of worms that is not worth getting into right now. The point here is that Vito was okay with this idea himself, and while thankfully they didn't follow through with it and instead made a GoFundMe for Mithart to move out on her own soon, there's a reason Vita is in this video. Now, Vita used to run a Twitter account alongside Lyle and others called the Zoophile Police, an account where they would basically expose and bully zoophiles. Obviously, nobody had an issue with this because it's funny to bully people like that. But things that get bad as during a dry spell in his Discord server Top of the Barrel, Vita would start to post a bunch of very gross messages on the account in April 2020 in an attempt to get drama rolling to satiate his boredom. This would cause his friends to disassociate with him for obvious reasons, and in turn a Discord server called the Senate would be created as everyone started to leave the man behind. Vita wouldn't like this and would go on to threaten to dox Lau and his wife in an attempt at revenge against his former friend.
Yo, bro. Come on. It's been an hour since the reaction have started, and everything has went bad enough.
This drama would then take a turn for the worst, as just 2 days later someone named Jazz would come out and expose him for grooming them all while he knew they were underage and he was an adult, such as sending nude images to them and even—
What? Yo! He even sent in his nipples?
threatening them after they were—
Come on. This isn't okay. And I have to blur that out before publishing it.
18, as they've been going around telling people about their relationship behind the scenes, saying how he'll call her mother and such. He would even reply to this online, questioning his approach to the situation now that the jig was up, even going on to try and scare someone by expressing how he's surrounded by minors online in this new community he found himself in now that things were over in the Brony fandom. Vito would eventually put out a Google Doc response that is basically him just ego tripping and saying how not many people care and how he's not the type to apologize but rather attack back on the offensive. Basically, a very odd approach by someone who's just exposed or talked in some type of way to a minor online. He'd also try to throw friends under the bus who knew about what was going on, obviously not telling people the reason they kept quiet was due to them fearing he would do something bad to the girl. Basically, some really screwed up yet poor manipulation games going on from a guy trying to control those around him. Even after the initial exposure, he would start to harass Jazz again through a burner account on Twitter, showing that this dude is pretty unhinged alongside the whole talking to minor stuff. This wasn't just it, however, as things got even more interesting when it turned out Jazz wasn't the only minor that Vita was talking to like that. In fact, Vita had been talking to none other than Mithart herself for years at this point since he was 22 and she was 13, and despite this recent stuff, she wouldn't come out about her experience with the man until September 2020 when he is around 27 years old now, just a month after she moved into her own place once she turned 18. Vita would threaten his own life in an attempt to control her and cause her stress, in which she would make an attempt on her own life but thankfully get the proper medical help she needed to get through things. After this, he'd also try to frame Mithart as a pedo and Zoo themselves by making fake messages and such and trying to spread it around his former inner circle to no avail. And he would continue to contact her and even make these fake apologies again.
Oh. At least he censored that name so nobody can get doxxed. That's good.
Get her back on his good side in this failed attempt at further manipulation.
I'm sorry for contacting you again, I really am. I was hoping to give it a while before I did.
Buddy, people aren't going to forgive you after all the shit you've done. It's a huge red flag.
Because I wanted to give you some time, but there's something serious going on I really need to talk to you about.
After this, Vito would be officially kicked out of the Brony fandom as they and others in those niche circles had learned about just how disgusting and insane he is. However, he'll move on to another one soon after, that being the Dead by Daylight community, now going by the name the Drunken Legion in his online streaming adventures. He would meet someone named Jibs sometime in summer 2020 when they were just 16 years old, in which they would become friends and chat with each other about their lives and such. Eventually, the Mint Heart news would come Jibs' way and they would talk about it with Vita, with him still trying to keep them around because he's sick in the head like that. Jibs would actually open up about their experience with him in a video by a former friend of Vita's named Queen Serafina, saying how they had a bad habit of removing and re-adding him as a friend because they missed talking about him despite learning these bad things about him.
There began a cycle of me repeatedly removing Vita, adding him back because I miss chatting with him, and I'm a little dumb sometimes. Then removing him again, because either something major would happen, I'd have a breakdown, or a friend would ditch me for talking.
Buddy! Why would you ever do this? Why? Now this explains why anybody in this world has different sexuality nowadays. My head is spinning. Isn't the world spinning too? Even though it's ultra slowly can. But goddamn, that is not okay.
Him to him still. Reasonably so, might I add. But during the time we did speak, he kept pushing boundaries, getting more and more sexual and private, as well as him telling me what to do, and even trying to get me to manipulate Mint into going back to him by using...
Yo, he was trying to commit suicide? Chat, do you read that? That ain't right, my guy. This is not right.
It was extremely obvious that Vita was manipulating yet another impressionable teenager, and eventually more people would contact Jibs and get them to fully drop the guy once and for all. As far as what was going to happen to the guy, Loud Convoy would end up getting Vita arrested, not because he was a pedo however, but because after calling the police on him when he allegedly made an attempt on his own life, he was going to assault his own mother after being sent for a mental health evaluation, and they would step in and do the rest, with his mugshot being posted online before getting it taken down at his request. Vita also hacked into some BRONIECon information database and leaked a bunch of private information of the guests too, in which he would also get arrested for that and was booked in Brunswick County, North Carolina for what he did.
Thanks to the sheer immense incompetency of Sequestria Fest, I now have the docs of over 50 f***ing people. If you...
Or the emergency
Whoa,
contact...
whoa, buddy, language. You don't have to speak to people like that who is trying to criticize you, trying to fuck with you. I don't know, some of them can take trolls way seriously.
Number of another person who knows you, in case you can't be reached or suffer some sort of injury. Some guy put his mom's phone number.
This isn't the end of the Vita story, however,
as
he was
They even dox people's numbers too? Buddy.
On probation for the hacking incident and by all means is a free man. And it will come out in February 2023 that Jibs is still in contact with the man and even gave him the info of a minor at his request despite knowing about his past. Obviously it's not a very good look at all, but it makes sense why they're still talking to them as they had this attachment formed years ago. So while it was something they very well messed up on, that was over a year ago now as of this video and they've since cut him off again, hopefully this time for good. There's no point in putting any blame on them, and as far as I can tell, Joshua Vita is still a free man scouring about the internet doing whatever he wants. But every time his head peers around public circles, everybody is reminded of how gross of a person he truly is, and he will never be able to use the internet publicly ever again after what he's done. Flufflepuff, also known as Mike, is an animator on YouTube who got popular over a decade ago for making cutesy My Little Pony animations, including their self-insert character aptly named Flufflepuff. He'd also used the character Dan from Dan Versus, another show that was airing on the...
Why did she put Dan on it? There is no way they can put this bum in this.
Same channel as MLP, know a lot of his animations as well. And he wasn't no slouch back then either, as he has millions upon millions of views on his channel for his simple fan animations on the TV show. Hell, get this, his most popular video has 68 million views on the website, as even though he fell off given the show in the Bronies.
Oh. Yeah, those were the old days. She was just jumping around the rainbows while the music plays like fluffy, fluffy unicorns dancing on the rainbow. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Those were the good old days. Yeah, I miss those days.
Brony fandom itself has ran its course. He was still pretty well known in internet animation circles. Well, things that start to get rocky is on June 22nd, 2018. For no good reason, also known as FNGR, would make a video alleging that Mike was dating a 15-year-old at the time, a pretty serious claim to make about the man. He would show a screenshot of a conversation between some random person and another person named Bayfish, in which he says they have an 11-year age gap and recently met up earlier that year in April to hang out. FNGR would then start to rant about Joshua Vita a bit because putting together a proper timeline about a story is borderline impossible for these terminally online losers, before finally getting into the Flufflepuff situation 10 minutes into the video. However, it's so messy and disorganized with barely audible clips playing as the evidence, and though some stuff is said in them that sounds bad, it was presented so poorly it was hard for anybody who wasn't in these circles or was in the know already to follow along.
And they showed screenshots, it's completely obvious that the girl is trying to make it seem like he's a pedo. Like, there's literally a screenshot where he's like...
Even when checking Mike's age, in April 2018, he was 29 turning 30, meaning that the girl at the very earliest would either be 18 or 19, making it legal and not that big of an issue at the time of presenting the story. It's no wonder this information never made the rounds back then, as it was frankly very poorly put together, and so for years nothing would ever come of this news as people went on with their lives in expected fashion. However, all that would change as over half a decade later on April 6, 2024, a random Twitter user named Devil Sweets would make a thread talking about the situation themselves for the public to see. This time some actual good evidence will be posted, in which back on June 21st, 2019, just a day shy of the 1-year anniversary of FNGR's video, Mike would go on to say that he met her when she was 15 but didn't start dating her until she was either 17 or 18, even saying that he liked her back when she was a teenager but didn't do nothing before they started dating. That pretty definitively shows that he was into a 15-year-old when he was around 26 years old himself, which is pretty disgusting no matter the context. And Bayfish herself would even go on to confirm that the audio that FNGR played in this video was true, though saying it was secretly recorded while trying to downplay everything given they were dating each other. Alongside the confirmed Bayfish story, the thread will also show someone else named Starcy saying back in August 2020 that when she was 16 and Mike was 30, they did stuff together, as even though she admits she was the one who was pushing it to go down between each other, everyone knows that Mike is a fully grown adult and should have known better and rejected her advances. Even over half a decade later, under the new name Aurelia, she was still in denial about what went down because she had a crush on him, showing just how deep this rabbit hole with Mike goes even years later. Devil Suits would eventually write up a Google Doc about everything they got so far, such as showing an old Gaia Online account of Mike's where back on August 9th, 2012, he would say how he prefers to go by maturity rather than age, with his example even including a 16-year-old to really show what he likes. Some more leaked messages from Starcy talking with Mike back in August 2018 would come out, in which after finding out he was dating Bayfish when they went down on each other she would get upset, with Mike trying to be all sad and stuff about his regret for what they did together in a pitiful attempt at emotional manipulation to make her feel bad for him, with their conversation just waiting off in this weird emotional sad boy way as he successfully got her to feel sorry for him. There's also more allegations made against him, but when looking into him they seem to all be just hearsay and nothing more, so I'm not going to go into them. Bayfish would put out a short response the next day on the 10th, basically saying the person who blew the story wide open hadn't spoke to them for about 5 years now and that they're upset about the situation given the circumstances. Going on to say that they're not a victim despite the evidence and trying to twist it onto the user because they had no permission to spread the story, also saying that it's bad and kind of just ranting for a bit before anything's off. They would respond back basically saying no you and that Bayfish blocked them first and such, and honestly it's kind of just a small pissy match that isn't of much importance so we can move on from this easily enough. On May 8th, 2024, Mike would make his official response, a 21-page Google document going into everything levied against him so far. To put it blunt before we get into it, the response is pretty dog shit all things considered. It's mostly just a bunch of woe is me type statements of how he had such a tough upbringing for being autistic and having depression and anxiety and all that, basically priming people to feel sorry for him before actually getting into the allegations so they could pity him. It's honestly pretty pathetic because nobody gives a shit if he had a rough upbringing, as while it indeed sucked that he went through some honestly rough stuff as a kid and into adulthood, it doesn't negate what he did to 2 teenagers well into being an adult and only further shows how far he's willing to take his emotional manipulation on what little of a fan base he had left by this point. Mike here would go on to say how he never had any relationship before he was an adult, saying how when he was introduced to NSFW roleplay he got all these little ideas stuck in his head due to this newfound lust he was finally able to engage on, again basically trying to sound like a complete loser to get pity from people. It's so dragged out, he even starts to talk about why he started making the MLP videos back in the day and all that, and then finally gets into the Bayfish stuff, saying how she initially lied about her age, but he still hung out with her after finding out she was 15, so this point is basically moot. He would say that after people found out they were dating, the audio FNGR posted would be made public, and that apparently he was never told in his life dating a minor was wrong, which, yeah, okay, buddy. Mike starts to talk about Starcy and tries to paint himself as one of the stupidest people on the planet despite being well into his 20s by this point in time when they met each other online. Even going to admit that he was reciprocating her pushy and flirtatious nature given she had a crush on him at the time that everyone's discussed reading. He then talks about the night they went down on each other and again tries to paint it as if he's the stupidest, weakest, most autistic loser on the planet to somehow gain pity from the viewers. Even going to try and say she was the one who forced him into doing all that, despite, you know, being a fully grown 30-year-old adult by this point who met up with a 16-year-old and totally had no idea about her intentions at all, guys. Michael going to say that Bayfish is now 24 and that they've been living together for the past 2 years now, that her family has apparently known about this but never had an issue with it, and that none of this is our lives and just theirs, and that he's changed since then. He even mentions how someone's been trying to get him banned from conventions for years now, which, yeah, he should fucking
Wait. What is Fluff of Puff doing with those people around here? Is she making out with these people? I know it's the old days back then, but still, it's a bit weird. Sus, actually.
Before going on to try and twist things on Devil Suits for breaking the story as if they were the bad guy for making this public in a failed attempt to garner more sympathy from the viewers. He even starts to go on this small rant about cancel culture as he starts to wrap things up as if he's making some bold statement, and ends things off saying how he'll try to move on from things and try to do better. This statement was pretty pathetic to read as Mike basically just admits to it all but tries to paint himself as the most autistic and pitiful man alive who never knew it was bad to talk to a minor as a fully grown almost 30-year-old adult, but hey, it makes it way easier for people to see how messed up he is, so that's good, I suppose. Bayfish's official response is 47 pages and honestly not worth going deep into as it's pretty obvious she's defending the guy who groomed her and blatantly admitted to it. Like this one part where she admits to lying about ages as if it wasn't Mike's responsibility to cut her off once he learned she was actually 15 instead of 19 like she initially told him. At one point, she even says she met Joshua Vita as well, showing just how interconnected these circles of degeneracy are, and that's just the stuff that's been documented in my videos I make on these freaks. Hell, at one point, Bayfish even talks about how Vita cosplayed as Slenderman at a Brody convention after getting banned, in which she says how it was leaked to her when he talked to Lau Convoy about his plan to start pressing her about her and Mike's relationship, again showing just how deep this rabbit hole truly goes in these internet circles. There's also some stuff about Devil Suits and her beef with them, but frankly, I don't give a shit because the story is with Mike, her, and Starcy, and that story ended up being true, and I don't give a shit about the petty stuff going on in the mix of all this. She would end it off basically telling people leave her and Mike alone and that she's happy in her current relationship, so it is what it is,
that I have at
This has been just a small handful of some of the worst the internet has to offer, this time pertaining to the Brony fandom and what remains of it as of today. I'm sure there are stories I missed out on given how deep this rabbit hole seems to go, and now's a good reminder for y'all to give me any video ideas to this email on screen. It doesn't have to pertain to bronies. It can be any sort of group or fandom, be it furries, Overwatch, Call of Duty, anything really.
I knew it.
Just make sure to organize the info before sending it over to me to check out. It's not exactly shocking there are people like this in these circles given how terminally online some of the users are, though it's worth pointing out this doesn't represent every brony out there. Every internet group and fandom has their bad apples, and documenting these freaks is just another way to rid them out of these circles and inform the wider public about what they've done. Until then, we'll just have to wait and see what's next. But given just how many of these stories seem to float around, it's safe to say there's still some more stuff to be discovered out there.
In 1986, the first episode...
Wait, are we going on to the next video? God damn. Well, this is gonna be the last video we're gonna be reacting to this video because I've been on for like an hour and a half. So it's gonna be the last video we gotta be reacting to tonight.
Of the original My Little Pony television show premiered. Directed towards an audience consisting of mostly young girls, the creators could in no way predict the effect these ponies would have on fringe aspects of society in the years to come. The term brony, first used satirically on a 4chan image board in 2010, would quickly gain popularity. Brony, Referring to a male fan of the My Little Pony franchise is a term wrapped in an intense stigma, often making one outside of the Brony community think of some of the most slovenly and degenerate members of our human race. This stigma would only be reinforced by higher profile bronies that fit this theme, such as Chris Chan, or the subject of this video, who is the worst example of humankind I have seen since I started my work on this channel, Dan's Burst Studio.
You're not. I'm trying to be famous. You have Zimbabwe, Rhodesia, Africa, all these places where we don't even have this fucking places.
What is bro yapping about?
Because enemies who are raped don't become suicidal.
I'm doing this because my mother is in the room with me right now, and she's not letting me film my video.
I don't think emotional cruelty should factor into morality assessments at all.
Death penalty, fruitless, senseless violence, police brutality, yeah. Because she doesn't want me to be famous on YouTube. She wants me to have a job, and I don't want to have a job. I want to be a NEET. Mom, I want to be a NEET, Mom. I'm coming out as a NEET. And when I see all this, it just gets me pissed as hell. I don't know what is shit.
Yo. What a man-child, bro. I don't wanna get a job. I don't wanna get a job. I don't wanna get a job. Bro, grow the hell up, bro. Jesus Christ.
Dan's Burst is a brony who advocates for both pedophilia and zoophilia, using pseudo-intellectual jargon to confuse the matter and present themselves as a modern-day philosopher. We don't know much about who Dan's Burst is off the screen, except for the following. They are unemployed, living with their mother, and their real name is Timmy, which we hear for the first time in a now-deleted video where he argues with his trans ex-girlfriend. More on them later.
Michael, where did you put my Snickers bar?
Wait, what are you saying, Timmy?
Michael, you took my Snickers bar. You think I didn't see you think I don't see the fucking shit you do every day after Halloween?
Your Snickers bar? Okay, what Snickers bar? What are you talking about?
You took it, Michael. You took my nerds too. You think I don't see the shit that you get up into every day?
Okay, I did. Okay, fine. I took your fucking Halloween candy. So what? Well, I took your Halloween candy. So what? I took your Halloween candy.
You don't know how hard I actually worked for that, Michael? You never work. You're on disability. You work 2 days.
I work at. What are you talking about? I worked at Walmart. I took a fucking Walmart. What the fuck is?
2 days a week.
I'm not on disability. I'm on disability. Even if I deserve it, I am disabled. I have high functioning autism.
And I deserve my Halloween candy because I'm a child.
Okay, so what? I have given you this beautiful house and everything, and you just so disrespectful to me, and you just say, "Oh, I deserve it." Well, guess what? Who pays half the bills? Who does all this? And you're so disrespectful to me. Fuck you. It's not even yours.
I knew you didn't care about me. You never ever cared about me. You don't care about shit. You only care about your insatiable appetite. You just want to fill up your gut like the fucking pig that you are. This is why I'm never gonna be with you again. I'm gonna break up with you and you're never gonna see me again. I'm gonna kill myself, Michael, and you will be the one. You will pay.
What the fuck?
The moniker Dan's Burst is Timmy's Pony Sona, which is a carbon copy of the My Little Pony character Sunburst. But that isn't how Timmy would describe it. They believe that Dan's Burst, is Sunburst's actual brother, and they have traveled to and from the world of My Little Pony through portals. Although they don't speak on it too much, this blurring of reality is a core part of their perception of the world and most likely harkens to some sort of undiagnosed mental illness. And unfortunately, it is in part responsible for the creation of the worst human I've ever seen on the internet. Dan's Burst believes that, on at least some spiritual level, they are a pony, and often refers to themselves using horse terminology, calling his hands and feet hooves, using the term some pony instead of someone, and so on. Timmy believes it is morally justifiable to have sex with animals and would create a video titled Dan's Verse Debunks the Immorality of Zoophilia, with a thumbnail that depicts a dog licking peanut butter off the breast of a pony character. This video serves as his thesis on sex with animals, where Timmy argues that zoophilia should be legal and is not only moral, but it is an insult to God to not have sex with animals, because in the hierarchy of beings, humans are above other animals and should be able to enforce their will upon them.
I'm going to be arguing against two separate but related claims. First, that zoophilia is morally right, and next, that zoophilia should be illegal. Let's start with the first. A lot of anti-zoophiles think that raping an animal is morally wrong and makes you a bad person. And people have, of course, asked why is that any different than eating an animal? I'm not against
what the fuck?
Animals.
That looks sad.
The anti-zoophiles will reply that we have to eat animals for nutrition, and even if we didn't, vegan stuff would be more expensive. But what if it's rare and true? Here's my main point. Even if all...
Oh, do you guys see in the left burger? That looks like a nasty patty. Oh my god. Okay, that's funny.
Humans had readily available 100% nutritious bland tofu. It wouldn't be wrong or immoral for a human to hunt and kill an ostrich, either because they like the taste of its meat or because they enjoy the thrill of the hunt. It turns out that this is all related to the use that zoophilia is not moral. First of all, what would it mean for zoophilia to be moral? Well, in raping the animal, zoophiles put frivolous human sexual above the animal's sexual autonomy and well-being. So, to establish morality, we just need to see if we can reduce statement Z. Now, frivolous human tastes and sexual pleasures are both extra and necessary pleasures, so they should be...
Oh, he's just showing mukbang videos.
Roughly as important in whatever moral consideration you have.
Should have been gotten a copyright strike from stealing anybody's content like that.
Taste pleasure would happen only as a byproduct of killing them. This would somehow make satisfying sexual pleasure more cruel because it is more direct. And these people would say that because satisfying sexual desire in this case is more cruel, it should be given less weight. I don't think emotional cruelty should factor into morality assessments at all, only the consequences of the actions. I'll explain this more in proving my main claim. Even if it did, I don't think doing something directly is any more cruel than doing it indirectly, since they have the same consequences. Besides, getting pleasure from the thrill of the hunt is taking direct pleasure in the death of the animal.
What the fuck?
I don't think that's immoral either. Killing an animal for its taste is a bigger harm to the animal than raping for pleasure would be. Some say that non-mutilated rape would somehow traumatize the animal.
Oh, come on! Hasbro Animations would never show rape content. This guy's a fucking idiot. He needs to go back to school. He didn't spend like 12 fucking years at school. Come on, buddy. Why are you ditching school all the time, bro? You're sure hell is fucking stupid.
So much that would be worse than killing them. And we know this isn't true, because animals who are raped don't become suicidal.
Yo, it just shows. Get a life.
Sure, some dogs who are traumatized by owners might stop accepting food from other people.
Well, only if someone's trying to kill them.
But this is because of fear and lack of trust in people. If you leave food in an empty room with them, they're gonna eat it, instead of starving themselves. One reason people may say that they wouldn't accept frivolous hunting is because killing an animal frivolously like that violates the animal's right to life, whatever that means. And apparently, they think it's morally wrong to harm animals, even when that harm doesn't affect humans. I think that, in terms of measurable consequences, it doesn't make sense to call this a bad action. You might ask, in our deductions of the morality or immorality of actions, which is really just assessing the goodness of the consequences. Why is it that we should ignore any consequences, no matter how great, caused to animals that don't affect humans? This is a thing that makes sense to do both spiritually and logically. Speaking in spiritual terms, God made a natural hierarchy of all living things: bacteria, plants, invertebrates, vertebrates, non-human mammals, humans, angels, and God. To place an animal's will before a human's will in any moral consideration.
What does this picture have to do with animals? He sure is fucking retarded.
Is to debase God's vision of humans as the natural rulers of Earth.
Rather than subject you to more of Timmy's ramblings, I'll sum up the majority of his points now. It is not wrong to hunt or raise animals for their meat, placing human want above the animal's bodily autonomy. Therefore, raping animals is no worse morally than killing and eating them. Emotional cruelty should not factor into an assessment of morality, but only the consequences of your actions on humans. A raped animal that has not been mutilated does not become suicidal, therefore, less harm is caused through raping the animal than eating it. And of course, placing an animal's will above a human's will debases God's vision of humans as the natural.
The villain is just putting the colors up him. They were choking them to death. The kids shows would never show this shit. This guy is a fucking hypocrite.
Rulers of Earth. If I go on anymore, I think I'm going to be sick. If you're like me, you probably feel a whiplash of disgust in your gut at hearing all of that. Well, Timmy tells us in this post he made, the only people who care to codify half-conscious emotional intuition into an emotional quotient, to try to elevate it to the same level as formal logical reasoning skills, are women and beta males. Cutting away the pseudo-intellectual bullshit, Timmy is essentially telling us that if you feel disgusted and repulsed by his views, then you must be either a beta male or a woman who is lesser than him and doesn't have the logical reasoning skills to see the truth in his beliefs. By now, I'm sure this doesn't come as a surprise, but Timmy's morally repugnant views don't just seem to extend to his lust for animals. I mentioned before that Timmy uses worse terminology for himself, but that also extends to others. He refers to women as mares, and most disturbingly of all, he refers to children as foals. In this Twitter post from July 2024, Timmy responds to some My Little Pony fan art, demanding to see their foals and claiming he has a foal harem, and Equestria. Doesn't have the same draconian age of consent laws as the human world, to which, of course, he has traveled to. In another Twitter post from later in July, Timmy goes on a tirade to defend MAPS, meaning minor attracted person, or probably pony in his mind. It's an internet term that pedophiles have used to try and insert themselves as part of the LGBTQ to no success. Timmy says, "The modern moralist herd won't stop until all publicly out MAPS are shamed and stampeded off the internet via overstated accusations plus mob justice. They're also going after defenders as well, i.e. any pony who doesn't align ideologically with their fallacious ageism. These people say the minor was groomed. Groomed into doing what? Being platonic friends? This buzzword's used so often, it loses its meaning. Grooming gets watered down to acted somewhat creepily."
Okay. No. I think I had enough with some brony shit. It's just that dense burst is so fucking stupid. Trying to defend himself with false allegations. That doesn't make any sense. This is fucking dumb. I'm calling this off. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for more content. I make better videos than this shit. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.